Hey guys, it's Kay from KS Anonymous, and I am back today with another episode of email submissions. So it appears I've gotten a little bit behind on the email submissions, and some of these I wasn't sure where to put them, so I thought I would go back into my email and check out some things to put in an episode for you all today. And then I also realized that at least one of these was from 2019, so sorry about that. This first one is from Shepard. Now, if you don't remember, we had an entire huge ITA or r/am I the a-hole episode thanks to Shepard. And they went ahead and sent this follow-up. Hi Kay, I don't know if you remember, but you once did a huge ITA video about me and my fiance and her problematic friends and family. Well, less than a year later, they aren't even friends on Facebook, let alone in real life. I know you only have my word for it, but I had absolutely nothing to do with that. Friend who I possibly called Lauren had started a whole campaign against Meryl at the place Meryl works, which Lauren used to also work at but no longer, accusing her of lying and making up stories about her. Meryl had all the screenshots necessary to prove that wasn't true. It's not particularly dramatic, but nothing else really happened. There were a couple of passive-aggressive flare-ups. Danielle shoved a Christmas card through Meryl's door, saying she hoped they could start talking again, as though Meryl was the one who had stopped. Again, screenshots prove otherwise. Mostly, though, they just drifted away into their own lives. I can't remember if it had happened yet last time I messaged you, but Lauren herself got engaged, and I think it should hopefully tell her something that everyone who couldn't wait to congratulate myself and Meryl didn't really react at all to her news. I don't mean this to sound like I'm glad that happened. Everyone deserves their own happiness, but just to emphasize the point that Lauren and Danielle had been slowly alienating their entire friend group, and I hope that the empty engagement party served as an eye-opener to her behavior. So in short, turns out I didn't need to worry about whether or not to invite them, because my fiance wants nothing to do with them now anyway. As for Meryl's mother, after saying she'll never forgive her and all that jazz, they seem to be pretty much back to normal. As far as I know, she basically just doesn't mention me and acts like Meryl is single when she visits, and that suits me fine as long as she's not guilting Meryl into feeling utterly terrible about herself like she's done in the past. Obviously, I'm not invited to visit. We spent Christmas together for the first time last year, and it was kind of sad that Meryl was surprised by the lack of arguments and passive-aggressive behavior between me and my mom. But I'm really happy that both my parents, separate events since they're long divorced, have accepted Mel as part of the family, and she fits right in with everyone. She had a bit of a trial by fire, meeting my siblings, my grandparents, my uncle, and respective partners all in like 3 days, but everyone loved her, and it felt so good to see her at a family event because, yeah, she's my family. Might be selfish perhaps, but it also made me a little sad that I will never have that new family experience with Meryl's family. But I suppose you can't have it all. Anyway, Meryl and I are very happy and are looking forward to finally moving in together later this year. Thank you, Shepard, for updating us, and I'm so happy to hear that so much of this has really worked itself out without too much trouble, and I'm really glad that you guys are happy and going to be able to move in together soon. This next one is by Elise H. Tidmore 6, and she did the MLP Girl submission the last time. Hello! This is MLP Girl back with another story. This time, I'll be telling the tale of how a Nick Jr. show struck my interest enough to become a fan thanks to a certain item I bought. Probably going to be a long one, so hope you have some popcorn ready. Anyway, the tale begins during winter break. My mom decided she wanted to go shopping, and I tagged along because I had nothing better to do. One of the stores we visited was Mark's. If you guys don't know what Mark's is, it's basically if Giant Eagle and Walmart had a baby with cheaper prices. After buying a few things, my mom and I decided to hit the toy aisle. Being a fan of My Little Pony, I happily grabbed some merch, toys that were from 2014 or 2015 before Hasbro decided to go chibi style on them. I happened to come upon a rack of lanyards that were 99 cents, and one of them had these cute girl characters wearing exotic clothing. At first, I wasn't going to get it, but I figured since I needed a new lanyard and it was surprisingly cheap, I mean, who could beat a price of 99 cents? I decided to grab it and think nothing of it. That is until I decided to look up on YouTube, and apparently the characters were from a show called Shimmer and Shine. I watched a few clips and thought the show was interesting. Then I kept watching more of it, started to record the show on my DVR, write a fanfic, and bought some more merch of it. Adult and 4 keychains. Heck, I even checked out the Facebook group. That is when I realized I suddenly became a fan. And you know what? I don't regret it. Well, I'm very glad that you found something new that you enjoy, and through such an interesting way. This next one is from Jean. Here's another funny story for you. This doesn't need to be anonymous. I don't mind making fun of myself, lol. To set the background for this story, there is one thing you need to know. When I was a kid, I fell off my pony, landing badly and breaking my back right near my butt. Because of lack of medical care, it healed badly. My ability to bend and be flexible was now severely limited. For example, I could do cartwheels sideways, but could not do flips, splits, and floor exercises because I could no longer bend properly. Years went by and I enrolled in college. I had one roommate. Our room was small, barely big enough for 2 twin beds and 2 study desks. Because of the limited space, there was barely enough room to stand between the beds, and the walls and the space between the beds was less than 3 feet. The closet had sliding wooden doors, and my roommate's bed was parallel with them, while mine was parallel with hers and the window. We were both studying quietly. She was at her desk with her back to the room, and I was on my bed. At one point, I got bored, and for some reason, decided to jump up and down on the bed. In the middle of this, I glanced over at the space between roommate's bed and the closet door. I then made the fateful decision to do a handspring over her bed and land on my feet in that tiny space. I believed it was a little over a foot, maybe 2. So I bounced a few times, leaped up and forward, and I made it. Oh my God, I could not believe it. I landed perfectly on my feet with not even a stagger. The precision of that landing would have gotten a 10 from any Olympic judge. My roommate had heard the bouncing and looked around just in time to see me land and then whoop in victory. Of course, she was bewildered, so I rapidly explained the situation and that I couldn't do handsprings, but I did one. She was having a rough time grasping what I was saying, so I decided to demonstrate what I'd done. I ran to my bed, bounced a few times, leaped up and forward, and failed spectacularly, slamming into the sliding door of the closet with a thundering, rattling boom, and slithered downward like a cartoon character, ending up on my back in that 2-foot space with my legs up against the closet and my head under her bed. Naturally, she yelped in shock, yelling my name, and rushed over to me asking if I was alright. I could not answer her because I was laughing hysterically, already having seen this cartoon-like failure in my head. This got her laughing, and soon we were both howling with laughter. The tremendous boom and the howls of laughter soon brought half the floor to my door to see what was going on. Our floor monitor was at first in, demanding an explanation. Through bursts of maniacal giggles, we tried to explain. Our garbled story made no sense to her, just as it had made no sense to my roommate. So I, in my infinite wisdom, decided to demonstrate. Yes, I did. I ran to my bed, bounced a few times, leaped up and out, and did exactly the same thing. I slammed into the closet door and slid back to the floor with my legs up against the closet and my head under the bed, eliciting shrieks of surprise from the other 20 girls who had crammed into the room to see what on earth was going on, and more gales of laughter. I really can't do handsprings, and why it worked the first time is a complete mystery to me. Needless to say, that was the end of study time. Oh my goodness, I love this. You always send me things that make me smile, so I thought everybody would like to hear about that. Of course, I think it fits probably best in this particular genre of basically everything from my email, but I still can't get over the fact that you decided to demonstrate the 3rd time. Now, this one was sent in anonymously, and my apologies to the person who sent this in, because this one was definitely from 2019, and I don't know how it got lost in whatever it got lost in, but I went through my email and I was like, what is this? And yeah, so sorry about that. A bit of a backstory. I'm an American female who lives in Switzerland with my 2 dogs. I speak English, duh, and German, and very little French and Italian. However, I can trick people into believing that I speak their language by saying yes in the currently spoken language, laugh when they laugh, etc. So these are the Karen stories from these anonymous person's experiences. Sorry, I forgot to add that in there. I'm dying! So when Karen moved into the building, she gave the landlord a sob story, along with a doctor's note of her illnesses, and was expected to die within 6 months. Because of that, people around our village felt sorry for her. That was close to 2 years ago. One day, she went to the grocery store and wanted to get her groceries for free. As she was about to finish checking out, she suddenly felt faint and passed out. The cashier called the ambulance and emergency doctor, and she was cleared on the spot. However, being the typical Karen, she gave them her sob story about how she's about to die in 6 months, and the store manager gave her the groceries for free. The sad thing about the situation, she laughs about how she scams everyone around her. Number 2, you threw grass into my mailbox. As I was outside with my dogs one day, another neighbor came with her dog. For the sake of this story, I'll keep Karen as Karen, and the other Karen, we'll call her Molly. While Molly and I were chatting, Karen came outside to check her mail and suddenly started screaming at Molly.
Why the F is there grass in my mailbox? You stupid bee, you threw the grass in there. Why did you do that?
Molly was super confused. No, I didn't touch your mailbox. I don't know where the grass came from, but some was in my mailbox as well.
You're lying! You threw the grass in my mailbox!
So I said to Molly, can you explain to her that the grass was a bird's nest that fell on top of our mailboxes and the harsh winds broke up the nest and blew grass into all of our mailboxes? Karen doesn't speak English or German, so Molly had to translate it all.
No! Molly threw it in!
By this point, she was screaming just to hear her voice, and I lost interest in her harpy speech. Other neighbors came out due to the squawking, and they all eventually lost interest in her screaming as well. Since we no longer gave Karen an audience, she stomped back inside of her apartment. Number 3, I don't want to see your dogs. Since this is a mountain village, I take my dogs on long walks in the morning. It's really pretty. For about 1 to 3 hours, depending on our route. However, since my older dog is almost 14 years old, she has to go out again in the evening, which isn't a problem. We have a small field in front of our building, and unfortunately, Karen lives on the first floor with her balcony facing the front. As I was out with my dogs and picked up after them, of course, I began chatting with a different neighbor of mine and his girlfriend. Suddenly, Karen stormed out of her apartment and began screaming at me. My neighbor's girlfriend was a translator between us two.
Why are your dogs always near my balcony?
Well, they're going to be near your and Molly's balconies since you both live on the first floor.
I don't want to see them. Why can't you take them to the other side?
What other side? There is no other side. There's a street, and I'm not going to allow my dogs to run in the street.
That's too bad. I don't want to see them because I can't eat or drink while they're outside.
I'm starting to lose my cool. I couldn't care any less about you not being able to eat or drink outside while my dogs are out. You can either wait the 5 to 10 minutes until we're gone, eat inside of your apartment, or ignore us. I pay rent every month and have every right to use this area. I'm always here with my dogs, and I clean up after them every single time, so you can take a few seats right now. I care more about cats farting in Russia than you not being able to eat while my dogs are in your view.
If you don't keep your dogs away from my balcony, I will report you to the landlord.
She waved a couple of photos she took of my dogs. I remember her taking those pictures and thought it was maybe a reflection from a car driving down the street, since she took those pics while I was cleaning up after one dog, which meant I was far enough away from my dogs for her to take a photo to make it seem like they were outside alone. That boiled my blood. You want to complain? Complain! I don't care, you crazy old bat. Do you want my mother's phone number to call and complain? I'll call her right now. Do you need the number to the FBI in America so you can report me? How about the number to Buckingham Palace? Do what you need to do, but I refuse to stop using this area because of you. You can bully everyone else, but you've messed with the wrong one. I'm not a sissy like the others and will fight back. Now, I'm done with you, and you're dismissed. Go away. My neighbor and his girlfriend looked at me wide-eyed and started giggling because I'm known as the sweet American girl who is always smiling and saying hello. I prefer to live peacefully with people, but geez, don't poke the bear and get upset when it roars. Needless to say, Karen turned a few shades of purple and went inside of her apartment. She came back out a little later to watch me since I was still outside and was a bit upset when I cheerfully wished her a good night. By the way, she didn't complain to the landlord, but she complained to the maintenance man, and he told her that I'm allowed to use the area. There isn't a problem since I clean up after my dogs, and they can't restrict the public areas due to a silly dispute. Instead, she came up with a couple of solutions. She bought a banner to put in front of her balcony so she wouldn't see my dogs when they're near her balcony, and she goes inside when my dogs and I are out. Ever since that day, we live peacefully with each other, and she even greets me as if nothing happened. Number 4, the dinner party. There's a family of 3, husband, wife, and daughter, who is from the Ivory Coast. Their mother tongue is French, but the wife, Marie, can speak very little English, and the husband, Pierre, can speak good English. They're very nice, and we talk regularly. Marie and I look nothing alike. She is married, has a daughter, is afraid of dogs, and can only speak French. I'm not married, have 2 dogs, and can only speak English and German. She has a thick French accent since she's from the Ivory Coast, and I have a thick American accent since I'm from America. The only thing we share in common physically is the color of our skin. However, Karen thinks we're the same person, even though she saw us both together. She invited Pierre and Marie for dinner one Saturday after the incident with my dogs, with her boyfriend. Off topic, but Karen is in her 70s and has a boyfriend. I'm in my 30s and don't even have a prospect. LOL. Karen was a bit confused as to why Marie was there and not me. Pierre and Marie explained to her for the millionth time that Marie and I are 2 separate people. Her boyfriend asked about my dogs a couple of times, and each time Marie told her she's the one with the daughter and the American is the one with the dogs. Then Karen told them how she's a bit hurt because I'm pretending not to speak French as to not have a conversation with her. Pierre told her that I'm not faking, I really don't speak French outside of the simple greetings. When Karen has long conversations with me, I don't understand what's being said. Well, I understand the gist, but I don't speak enough French to respond, and I've told her many times that I don't speak French. Nope. She thinks I understand every last word, and I'm being rude by claiming I don't speak French. Since French is my mother tongue, Marie interjected and explained again that she's the one who's from the Ivory Coast, and her mother tongue is French. I'm the one from America, and my mother tongue is English. This went on for some time until they both got bored with trying to explain that there were 2 of us and not one. Lesai is quite the quite the Karen. I guess French Karens can be a little, or I guess French. I am assuming she's French. French-speaking Karens in other places are just like a different flavor of Karen. Like, you can't eat because you see a dog outside? Are you for real right now? And then she's legit convinced that you're the same as someone. Oh my gosh, that is so weird. I hope you at least get to enjoy having crazy stories to tell people. This next one is from Rebel Scum. Hi Kay, a recent post reminded me of something that happened to me in Honduras. This happened 8 years ago, and parts of the story are translated from Spanish. My now ex-wife is from Tegucigalpa. Sorry guys, I can't pronounce things. Okay. While we were married, we traveled there to visit her family. I'm on the spectrum and as a result don't like to be touched. I also have an issue with loud noises and sudden movement. My ex explained to them she would have to touch my shoulder and let me know before hugging me, otherwise I would tense up or push away. Her family is very affectionate, but were understanding of my condition. Her cousin Victor, however, not real name, didn't get the memo. He's your typical bro. Slaps your back, grabs without warning, and is loud. He's a good guy, just overly affectionate. I explained several times this was not okay, but his response was, "Don't be so sensitive. Real men know how to take a joke." I just shrugged it off. We were at a neighborhood get-together, and I was doing my best to deal with the noise. My then-wife and in-laws did their best to accommodate me. Everything was going good when, out of nowhere, Victor came up behind me, practically jumped on my back, screaming something incoherent. My security training kicked in, and I hip-tossed him onto the table in front of us. Everyone was shocked, but shock turned into laughter when they realized he was okay. He got upset, asking, "What the heck?" I told him, "Don't be sensitive. Real men know how to take a fall." Like I said, he's a good guy. We still talk, but he learned a valuable lesson that day. Sorry if it's anticlimactic, and sorry for any formatting issues. Not on phone. English is my first language. I just suck at typing. Roast me if you must. Feel free to share if you see fit. Your pal, Rebel Scum. Well, thank you for sending that in. I imagine he probably was very careful about touching you from then on. I mean, that's one way to learn your lesson. This next one is from, I'm guessing, Lion. I have it on the screen here, and it's also in the text, so I apologize if I said that wrong. Hi, I posted this story on Reddit a couple weeks ago. I would love for you to narrate this on your channel. This is a story which happened to me, Lion. Lion? I don't know. I'm so sorry. Please let me know what you think of this story and if you decide to feature it on your channel. Want to rob that house in the middle of the night? Watch out for the 10-year-old next door. A recent conversation with my mother brought back this memory. This happened when I was about 10 years old. Girl. During the witching hour, approximately 3 a.m., though I didn't know this at the time, I woke up one night. I went to the bathroom, and when I was in the hallway, I saw that the lights in our backyard were on. These only came on when it was dark and someone was moving around. Because it was late spring, early summertime, my pet rabbit was in his larger cage, so he could nibble on the grass and enjoy the night air. I went to look and saw a shadow sitting next to the cage. Thinking it was one of my parents checking if I had locked the cage before going to bed, I thought nothing of it. When I was back in my room, facing the front of the house, I thought it was chilly and went to close one of the windows. Since I didn't put on any lights inside, I could clearly see someone walking through the garden towards the back of the house. I thought I recognized my mother, so I called out to her. In my 10-year-old mind, I thought she wanted to know I was awake. The shadow looked up to my window and ran to the back of the house. I never heard the back door or anyone walking inside, but still being tired, I didn't think anything of it at the time and went back to sleep. The next morning at breakfast, I asked my mom why she was in the garden during the night and if she had heard me calling for her. She said she didn't go outside after I'd gone to bed, and both my parents and my sister dismissed my story of shadow people in the garden and near my rabbit as a dream or a nightmare. During my day at school, my mind kept going to the night's events, but I tried to convince myself my family was right. When I came home, my mom called me into the kitchen. She was sitting there talking to a police officer. Not knowing what to think, I sat down next to my mom. She said the officer was here to talk about what I saw during the night. For perspective, we went up to my room so I could show the officer what I saw and where I stood. After going through my entire story, the officer told me they had found papers, money, and passports right at the edge of the forest that bordered our backyard. He told me that they were stolen from a home invasion a couple of streets away. For years, this was all I knew, until my mother told me the following. The home invasion wasn't a couple of streets away. Our next-door neighbors were robbed. My parents truly believed that I had had a bad dream until police officers came to our house for a neighborhood canvass. It was at that point it started to dawn on them that I might indeed have seen something. It was never known to me or my parents if the burglars got caught, but we always and still believe that my statement had helped the police to get them. At least my being awake and closing my window got our neighbors their passports and some of their money back. So, burglars? Let's not meet. Ever. Yeah. I mean, I totally understand why they would say that it was like, a little bit away, because I would find it really hard to sleep if I knew that I had seen some creepy person rob the people right next door and that I had seen like a bad person and all that stuff. Like, that would freak me out. That's really funny that they like dropped the stuff and ran, or at least some of the stuff and ran, because you're like, Mom! Oh man. I mean, I guess that was probably really scary for you, but it's kind of funny to think about it when like a burglar got foiled by a 10-year-old. That's awesome. Anyway, that is going to be it for today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and drop a like and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Really quickly, I would like to thank my patrons. Up on the screen, you should see my face palmers and my crazy K's. Thank you all so much for supporting me in that way. If you would like to become a patron or send me an email for possible inclusion in a future video, be sure to check out the description box because all of that information is available there. I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye!